Says
Wow, have we always had that voice?
That's a new voice.
Hired a new
Wow.
AI.
Okay. Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to the September 4th, 2024 meeting of the Mecklenburg County Economic Development Committee. I am Commissioner Susan Rodriguez McDowell, and I have the pleasure of chairing this committee. If anyone would like electronic copies of any presentation materials today, please make these requests via email to Megan Witt. Her email address is megan.witt@mecnc.gov. So, as per usual, we're going to start this meeting with introductions for those of us here in the Government Center. And I will start with commissioners, and as usual, I will start on my right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Jarrell, representing District 4, also serving as Vice Chair.
Good afternoon, I'm Laura Meyer, and I represent District 5.
All right, and our fourth member, Commissioner Lee Altman, is not going to be present today. So I'm Susan Rodriguez McDowell, and we are excited to come back from a couple of months hiatus and starting back. And so we have some new faces in the room, and we want to go through and introduce everyone. Let's start at those at the table, and then we'll go around the rest of the room.
Well, good afternoon. Leslie Johnson, Deputy County Manager.
Roger Johnson, Director of Economic Development.
Shahid Rana, Deputy Director.
Clay Andrews, Senior Program Manager.
Megan Witt, Economic Development.
Janelle Rosales, Economic Development Program Manager.
Jackson Irfani, Economic Development, UNC School of Government Fellow.
Barry Turner, Economic Development, Data Analyst.
Jamelia Davis, Economic Development.
Aviance McKenzie, Economic Development.
Agustin Velasquez, Economic Development. Jamari Timmons, Economic Development, Compliance Officer.
Monica Greer, Economic Development.
John Walton, Economic Development.
Timothy Tibbs, County Manager's Office.
Danielle Price with the Business Launchpad Program.
Robin Oden with the Business Launchpad Program, Cohort 17, as well as with the Norm CLT Transportation.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. And let's go. Are there any people online that we need to introduce?
We do have just one guest online, Britt Clampett with the Public Information Office.
All right. Hello, Britt. All right. So the first item on our agenda is to approve the meeting minutes for June 18th, 2024. Megan, they were so extensive. I mean, I don't know how you could get through all of that. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the minutes are approved. I will now recognize Deputy County Manager Leslie Johnson and Director Roger Johnson to introduce the next agenda item.
Sure. Well, thank you. Today, what we would like to provide to you is an update on our pilot of our Job Expo, as well as career readiness workshops. We know that trying to come up with additional strategies to enhance workforce development opportunities in the community is of utmost importance to the board as well as to our team. And so this year, in partnership with our economic development partners for DSS and the like, we attempted to try on our efforts in this space. And so today the team will give a closeout report on how well we did, opportunities for improvement, and how we hope to make differences when we try our second year pilot before we determine if this is something that we want to do long term. Roger?
Madam Chair, it's been expressed to us a desire to end at 4:40-ish today, if we could, so that you could make a dinner meeting. I think there's some pressing items at the board, so we're going to go at a faster pace. We'll be happy to slow down if so desired. A couple of staff updates. Since it's been a while, we thought it was prudent to share some information with you. Before we get started into those, one of the updates is going to be presented by Clay Andrews. Clay, the floor is yours.
So you may or you may not know that there's a program out there called the International Economic Development Council. It is the Association for Economic Development, and it is the largest such association in the world with over 4,500 members from all over the world. And the ideals of the organization are to raise the professional standards for the organization and to foster inclusive and expansive economic development. Within this program, there is a certification program called Certified Economic Developer Program, or CECD. Those of us who have it call it a CECD. It is the most prestigious credential in the field. And you can see the requirements there. It requires mastering 6 competencies, passing an exam consisting of 5 essay questions, 100 short answer and multiple choice, and an oral exam, in total over 6 hours worth of examinations. And there are only 1,200 people in the world who hold this designation. And the idea is if you have a CECD, you should be able to fly over a plane and parachute out anywhere in the world. And wherever you land, walk into the local government office and say, I can start a program from scratch and get this program up and running. And I have been a member of this program for a while now. And since we last met, I would like to introduce our newest member of the program, Mr. Shahid Rana.
And
Let's get a
Yeah,
picture.
yeah, let's
get
do
a
that
picture. Let's get
photo.
a picture, Clay. Let's get a picture. Yeah, let's get a picture.
Okay.
Let's get a picture of this.
that smile. I got it.
Nice.
Yes.
Look at
Yeah,
that.
now official.
Dig it.
Nice.
All right,
Nice.
Sean. And it's that. Okay.
I would also point out to you that, to my knowledge, we are the only 2 who have this designation who are actively practicing economic development in Mecklenburg County.
Wow.
There are others who have it, but they're not with the city's economic development office. They're not with the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance or anybody else with Mecklenburg County. So you got 2 of them.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we got some new staff introductions. Before I get to that, I just wanted to say they introduced themselves sort of quickly. I'm going to give them a little more airtime. First of all, I'd like to recognize Aviance McKenzie. Aviance is a management analyst as part of Jamilia's team in business diversity and inclusion. What you may not know is that she's also a yogi. That's not a term I was familiar with, but apparently that means a yoga practitioner. So with that being said, Aviance, I'll let you.
Namaste.
Thank you, Roger. Greetings, commissioners. Thank you, Chair, for having me here, Chair Rodriguez McDowell. My name is Aviance McKenzie. I am the Program Officer for Business Diversity and Inclusion. A little bit about myself. I graduated from the University of Florida with a bachelor's degree in anthropology and went to go get my master's in public health management and policy from Emory University. So prior to coming to OED, I spent 2.5 years with the Mecklenburg County Public Health Department, serving as their first health equity fellow and working with nonprofit organizations. So I'm happy to transition my skills over to a team that works with for-profit organizations, because I feel that when we have a healthy economy, we have a healthy community and healthy individuals. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome.
For the sake of time, we'll just hold applause until the very end, please. Next, I'd like to introduce Barry Turner. Barry is a data analyst. He also works on Jamilia's team in the business diversity and inclusion. He's been working to get data into a digestible format that you all have requested. We're going through the process now. We'll be bringing that back to you. Nevertheless, Barry comes to us as a former linebacker from UNCC. Barry.
Thank you for the introduction, Roger. Name is Barry Turner. I graduated from UNC Charlotte. Received my master's degree in data science and business analytics. I have a bit of a background in sports analytics, and just happy to be able to help the team, specifically BDI and project reporting, and just improving the processes with that. So thank you.
Awesome.
Barry, you look like a Cowboys fan, right?
No, sir.
Oh.
49ers though. Yo.
Our next team member is Jamari Timmons. He's a management analyst again with Jamilia's team. He joined BDI just a few short weeks ago. Of interest is he's into hot rods and travels around to see car shows.
How y'all doing, commissioners, Madam Chair? Thank you for having me here at this meeting. Once again, my name is Jamari Timmons. Just a little bit about my background. I'm currently a management analyst, compliance officer in the informal construction space. So I kind of came in about a month and a half ago, almost 2 months, hit the ground running. Very excited to be here. My background, I'm a graduate of North Carolina Central University in environmental science and GIS. You know it. I previously come from the planning world. So prior to coming to Mecklenburg County, I was with the City of Durham Planning Department, so working on GIS. And I also got my master's degree from Queen's University of Charlotte in strategic communications. So glad to work with BDI, utilize my skills, and serve the community. Thank you for having me.
Now I'd like to introduce Jackson Irfani. He's a recent graduate of UNC. He's a part of my portfolio, and we have a project called Relieving Inequality, Strategic Investments and Nurturing Growth, or Project Rising, if you will. And we'll talk more about that at a later time. But as a Tar Heel graduate, you won't be surprised to find out that he knows about as much about UNC sports as any human I've ever met. So Jackson, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so recently graduated in May from UNC Chapel Hill. It's an honor to be here in front of you, commissioners. I do the lead for North Carolina Fellowship. It's a one-year fellowship that matches recent grads from all around North Carolina to communities that are municipalities and counties. It's originally attempted to fight brain drain from people going to bigger cities. But of course, I'm here, which is a little bit different. But I think I'm here because I'm originally from the Charlotte area, and I would not have taken on this opportunity if I wasn't in my hometown and doing something that I really believe in and working with a great team of people. So thank you.
Awesome. Welcome. Oh, no, now can we go? Oh, now we can go. Okay.
This is for all of you guys.
Yeah. Excellent.
A couple other bits of information that I think is germane for this situation. Fred Atimo, who runs McLending, for those online who may not be aware of that, has announced his retirement. He's not here today, but effective end of the year, he will be leaving the county and graduating into the next part of his life. We'll certainly bring him back at a later time so everyone can say goodbye.
He doesn't seem old enough. Fred. Oh, man.
I think I'm gonna stay away from the age question if that's all right.
I guess is that like politically incorrect or something? I don't know. Sorry.
We have one other programmatic update we think is germane. The Lake Norman Economic Development Commission is going under a restructuring and a reorganization. They've let go of their leadership. There's one person remaining there. We reached out to the towns to see if and how we may be able to assist them during this time of transition. So working with Dr. Johnson and Shaw, the Business Attraction and Retention team, we wrote a scope of work. So our team has served as the interim role to be their EDC for all the northern towns. We've pledged to do that through January. It has resulted in a significant increase in workload for the team. There's a lot about that community that we just simply didn't know as it relates to sites, developers, real estate professionals, and other things that we were not engaged in day to day. So it's been a lot of research as well as time spent with those particular town leaders. To date, the feedback we've received is the Business Attraction and Retention team has been exemplary. We don't know what the long term looks like, but we thought it was important for you to know that we're filling in until they decide what their future looks like with that organization. Be happy to answer any questions you may have about that. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item of business is, I believe, is our workforce pilot. As you may recall, OED was charged to put together a workforce development program, and what ultimately resulted in a pilot program last year where we tried to connect job seekers or residents of Mecklenburg County with larger career ladder opportunities, greater wages for those existing businesses. Not only does it help our residents, but also it serves a purpose for helping our businesses be successful too. And Shaw, who led that particular project, is going to take you through a recap and he'll entertain any questions at the end. Shaw, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Roger. Well, it's a pleasure to be back in
It's always good to share updates of the latest and greatest that we've been up to. What I'm going to share with you is a summary, high-level summary of some of the insights, findings, and what I would call as wins as well from our pilot. There was a successful completion of phase 1 of what we call our pilot, our workforce pilot, which consisted of 2 job readiness workshops and 1 career expo that was completed in February of this year. It seems like a long time ago, but time has been going relatively fast. And this workforce pilot was really a part of our economic development 2.0 goals. And we wanted to make sure that we were listening, provided opportunities for residents to get in front of employers. There was also strengthening of the relationships internally, enterprise-wide. So there was a lot of working relationships being built and established through Unified Workforce under Dr. Johnson's portfolio and also under Anthony Trotman's as well. And there's also the coordination with Mecklenburg County's HR department and Park and Rec as well. So this wasn't done in a silo. It was a cross collaboration across different departments and also various portfolios at the DCM level as well. And we wanted to make sure that we were addressing the board's priority and bridging those connections. So table of contents, I'll go through a pilot recap, the job readiness insights, the expo insights, our post-expo insights. So that's kind of our brainstorming session that we've had as a staff internally, our lessons learned, and then what we believe are next steps contingent on a few decisions and meetings that we'll have internally and also at you guys level as well. So we had 546 attendees at the expo, and our goal was actually 300. And 313 people who showed up were actually walk-ins. So these were people who did not know about our services. They were not previously engaged with any workforce development program. But we can also just contribute some of that success to our public information office. There was a strategic communication plan that was put together by PI and also working alongside Liz Graham and Britt Clampett and their team there, who put together some strategic marketing collateral, Facebook and social media ads. But most importantly, it was a comprehensive plan beyond flyers and just taglines in a social media post. But we also engaged with some of our community resource folks such as Kay Timbo and Rebecca as well. We had 80 attendees at the 3 job readiness workshops. Our goal was 50 registrants per event. And at each event, we've had 65 people that registered, but we had a little bit of a lower turnout from the people who registered. And I'll elaborate a little bit more on that as the presentation goes along. We had 36 participating employers, and this particular pilot was for private sector and public sector. So we had public sector employers, also institutional employers such as UNC Charlotte. And then we also had a few of our BIP recipients. This particular pilot was geared towards construction, facilities and maintenance, and also advanced manufacturing. Those were the sectors that we decided to launch this pilot in. And mainly because we wanted to look at an opportunity to bridge the gap with some of our BIPs and making sure that they had the opportunity, the platform, and the resources to actually reach out to the residents. We understand that every time we bring a BIP project, there's always the question of how can we make sure that residents have the opportunity to be aware of the jobs, to apply to the jobs, and essentially work at the jobs. So we wanted to test out this particular platform, which is unprecedented for our particular office to conduct something of this magnitude and provide an event where the employers, a few of which are BIP recipients, to get an opportunity to meet residents at this event. And we have 15 participating community partners. So these will be your workforce development programs, your urban leagues, the Rock, She Built the City, Central Piedmont as well, with the understanding that if people, with the vast majority who we anticipated of being walk-ins, may not be ready to apply for these type of jobs, considering the skill set, background, and credentialing, they may have an opportunity to enroll in a program where they can obtain the background, the education and credentialing as well.
There's one thing I want to mention about the, with regards to the workshops. The original plan was to only have 2 job readiness workshops, and he'll expound on the challenges that we had with regards to registration, but we were starting to get so many people that we filled up on the registration that we hurried up and immediately pivoted and said, can we offer a 3rd one? So that's kind of how we got to 3, but the original plan was to only have 2.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Some of the insights, they may be pertinent to you, but we thought they were important to share. You know, we wanted to make sure that we were at facilities with the proper AV and technology. That was critical. Some people, when you're having a public event and you don't know who's showing up, we wanted to be conscious of people's educational and competency levels, their reading levels, eyesight as well. Some people are nearsighted or farsighted. So we try to take a lot of things into consideration. We also provided job readiness workshop handbooks. These handbooks that were included provided information on interview tips, resume building tips as well. And we wanted to provide residents with a resource in a condensed fashion, whether they had an opportunity to apply to a job at this expo or the next, they had a takeaway and a lessons learned. And this was really condensed best practices from all of the events and workshops that Unified Workforce would typically do over a several week period. We condensed this in a few hours. We had a wide range of demographics between age, race, and sex, which was also interesting as well. Sometimes when you talk about manufacturing and construction, you may have a particular demographic in mind, and typically that demographic are males between the ages of 18 and 45. But we realized that when we promoted this particular event in those industries, we actually seen a lot of women who applied, also different age groups that were not typical that what you would see in construction, manufacturing, and maintenance and facilities. We also seen a wide range of skills from GED to PMP. We offered multiple days and locations. We had a location off of Beatties Ford, and then also off of Central Avenue. And then the 3rd location in which we accommodated some of the other folks who registered who could not attend these events, we had it at VCW as well, to try to have a Mecklenburg County centric location where people were used to getting to from a transportation perspective. And we also had the involvement of our community partners, which was key. So Urban League, in addition to Charlotte Works, helped co-facilitated those community outreach events and also provided more information and resources about their programs. The Expo Insights, as mentioned before, we had 313 walk-ins. One of the reasons why we actually had the job readiness workshops, we understood that there were going to be a lot of people who were not in the program. And we wanted to at least have one touch point with a group of people before they showed up in front of an employer and made a potential detrimental lasting impression. So we wanted to reemphasize your speech, your attire, your decorum, your preparedness. So that was a part of the pilot program as well, understanding that some of the people who may have showed up are not in Goodwill. They're not at the Urban League. They're not at She Built This City. But how do we provide opportunities for people who may not have the time or the awareness of these programs, give them a condensed a lesson on how to prepare for the expo, and then essentially share information about the employers who are going to be there as well. We had bilingual support staff that was heavily utilized. That was something that was very noticeable at the expo. The NC Works had a mobile unit that was also beneficial, as you see in the picture here. That was through the state, and that partnership was critical. Within that NC Works mobile unit, residents have the opportunity to print out resumes. But even beyond that, the support staff that manned that mobile unit were there to provide technical support. They were giving guidance to the actual residents in regards to formatting, to print, and they actually honestly coached a lot of people before they printed out their resumes and stepped before an employer to hand them their resume to properly explain it. So we thought that was a huge value add and a benefit. It was highly successful. And we also utilized that vehicle as well from an administrative standpoint to print out certain things from the mobile unit. But we just wanted to highlight that our relationship with NC Works was critical to help launch this pilot program. We also partnered with Central Piedmont Community College for the actual facility. You all aware of the Harris campus, in which a lot of the retreats are held. We wanted to make sure that we establish a relationship with Central Piedmont to make sure also that their student body had access to this program as well, especially they have elaborate classes in the trades. And then the residents were really pleased with the variety of companies, and the companies were pleased with the amount of people. So one of the things that we tried to do at the event as much as possible was capture real-time survey information as people were walking out, and to have them understand, hey, did you have a good time? Did you find this beneficial? And we had a high level of resident satisfaction. And what I would also say, every employer who attended said they want to attend the next one. So the employers were also satisfied as well. Some of the comments that were shared, as you can see from the picture at the top, this is probably the most people we've ever experienced at an expo. And the average count per attendee at each table was around 200 to 250. So each employer seen, talked to, shook hands with, introduced themselves to at least 250 residents that day at the event, which we thought was also a success. Post Expo insights, 162 out of 546 people were actually interviewed from the Expo, which is 30% of people who attended the actual Expo received an interview. In regards to industry standards, an Expo this size, especially with the large population of walk-ins where they're not people who went through a program, they're not referred, they're not in the system, we can't vet their credentials and alike, that's in that 15 to 20% range. So we actually exceeded expectations in regards to a general public expo by having 30% of the people receive an interview. And job offers, 61% of the residents received an offer. So out of the 162 people who received an interview, 61 received an offer, which is 38% of the interviewees received a job offer, which is excellent results for a public job expo where the vast majority of people were walk-ins, meaning we couldn't vet the people who were coming in. We didn't know what credentials they were going to have. So that really speaks to the marketing, really speaks to the, just the overall collaborative effort to make sure that we're reaching the right people. And as we go on through this presentation, we'll also have some lessons learned on how we believe we can refine that in phase 2 of the pilot. Some of the, as you see here, we had a really elaborate debrief with the team that was internal team here, along with Unified Workforce, Public Information, and also with Charlotte Works. And, involving PI early on in the process was critical from a messaging standpoint, and we believe the same thing. Interdepartmental collaboration and partnerships with key organizations was also necessary, understanding that although this is a career expo, we wanted to make sure that residents were aware of wraparound services. So a few of the things that we realized, not only in the workshops, but in addition to the actual expo itself, people came in for a job, but they needed transportation. They came in for a job, but they needed childcare assistance. They came in for a job, but they needed information on SNAP benefits and food. So we also seen this as an opportunity for strategic community outreach. If someone is in dire need of a job, whether they're unemployed or underemployed, 9 times out of 10, they need the additional services as well. So having that understanding in partnership with Unified Workforce, who typically cater towards a demographic of people who have certain barriers for employment, we wanted to make sure that we weren't tone deaf in the launch of the phase 1 of this pilot, and provided those other resources there at the expo, in addition to the actual the workshops. And then the day of production, having the right accessibility to the location is key. So having locations for the workshops, in addition to the expo, off of major transportation routes. I'm sure you all understand how important transportation is in regards to residents getting to key nodes and places of employment. We wanted to make sure that any event that we did in the future, or the continuation as pilot, we were taking that into heavy consideration, understanding that transportation could be a barrier for a large population of people within our community. I'm going to breeze through some of this just for the sake of time, and then make sure we have enough time for questions as well. But partnerships, we wanted to make sure that we hone in on relevant community job training resources. We also want to make sure that in phase 2 that we're really targeting the right industries. Some of the reasons why we selected construction, maintenance, and manufacturing, which were well received by residents, is because there are proven workforce development partners that we already have a contract with. There are people who are graduating from that pipeline. From a location quotient standpoint, meaning the actual future demand of types of jobs, we understand that construction is of high demand. We understand that manufacturing, especially advanced manufacturing, is also of high demand in certain industries. And then also too, with the construction and growth of our community, maintenance and facilities will also be of high demand as well, considering the growth. And we know that these are target industries in regards to the demand that folks will need. And then we also look at barriers for employment, and then kind of easy way to start on the employment ladder. So it may be easier transferable skills from someone to go as a line chef at a fast food restaurant or to work at a postal office than to an assembly line at an advanced manufacturing facility. So we tried to take a look at our ecosystem. We collected data also from Charlotte Works and also Unified Workforce here in the county. We looked at a population of people in which we believed could receive some level of upskilling or just an opportunity to apply to these type of jobs, and where they could take at least 3 steps on the ladder in regards to upward mobility, to come in at a paycheck opportunity, at a paycheck level, then have an opportunity and essentially grow into a career. And with some type of on-the-job training or connecting them with the right community partners, people can receive at least a $2 to $3 increase per hour in their wage within the 6 to 9 month period, depending on the training program or the credentialing that they were going to receive. So these were some of the elements as a part of the pilot. As we look forward in the future, we're considering the same sectors. Also, too, what was really key in the lessons learned is that the Office of Economic Development does not do workforce development programming. But one of the key things that we do bring to the table are relationships with employers. So that was key, having the relationships with the brokerage community from the work that we do through business attraction, having the relationships with our BIP recipients in which they are contractually obligated to supply a certain amount of jobs, in which we check and verify that as well. We wanted to continue that relationship building with some of our corporate partners, and we've seen that as a value add that the office can bring to this particular pilot. And then we also understood that debriefing, making sure that we match the skill set with the job openings. One of the biggest lessons learned that we found out that I'll share here is that we understand from a livable wage perspective, considering one of the primary sectors for employment in Mecklenburg County is the financial industry. But at the financial industry, your wages are in a 6-figure wage. But also our region is also big for pick and pack warehouse, logistics, and advanced manufacturing, in which those jobs are not as high. So what happens is the actual livable wage for our community for certain people in certain industry sectors, such as construction, manufacturing, and maintenance, those wages are a little bit lower to come into a job. So what happens is we want livable wage at $22, $23, $24 an hour, but that's not the industry standard for someone receiving a credential as a journeyman, someone who's starting their pre-apprenticeship program. You're looking at the $16, $17 an hour range. So as we further explore this pilot, we want to make sure that we're targeting the right people, making sure that we place them and at least introduce them to the right programs so that they can grow into that $22 to $25+ an hour jobs. But from what we've learned, that's not the industry standard in which entry-level people are getting jobs. In order to get that 25, you have to have OSHA, you have to be an apprentice, you have to be in a program for at least 18 months to get to that level. But how can we start people on that pathway who don't even know about those sectors, who don't even know about those jobs. As mentioned before, the 313 people who will walk in, awareness is one of the biggest things that we've considered in this pilot, that people are just not even aware these types of jobs exist. So we've seen this as also an educational opportunity for the general public to understand what are the other sectors in our community outside of just finance, and how do they break the stigma of advanced manufacturing as kind of old line manufacturing, where you're going into a facility, there's big old smoke towers, and you're throwing coal into some type of furnace to produce some type of widget. But that's the perspective that most people have, not understanding that a lot of our advanced manufacturers, you're running a facility with a white lab coat and an iPad. So we want to introduce these new sectors and job opportunities to our residents as well. So next steps, our anticipated pilot, we're going to continue to do some planning over the next few months with our partners, which we've already started, to take our lessons learned from various departments and see how we can refine this next phase of the pilot. We're looking to do 3 workshops. We're going to continue the 2 expo readiness workshops for residents, but we're also going to have an expo readiness workshops for the business. So some of the feedback that we receive from the residents, we want to share that with the businesses as well. So I'll give you one example. Before we invited the companies to the expo to participate as a vendor, we asked them via survey how many job opportunities they have available, at what wage, what's the educational requirements, and the like. And we wanted to make sure that we provided a wide spectrum of jobs in the construction, maintenance, and advanced manufacturing industries, where people can come in basically off the street, have an entry-level job with some type of on-the-job training, start their career, and then provide opportunities for people who may be underemployed but have the credentials and can grow into a more of a career opportunity. Well, since these jobs are such high demand, I may have the jobs today, but they're not there tomorrow. So how do we make sure that our residents are prepared in time, can apply with a certain level of speed to make sure that they're actually competitive throughout that process? We want to make sure that there's a better understanding of the demographics of people who were the walk-ins. So our corporate partners understand who's coming out of She Built the City. They understand who's coming out of Urban League. They understand who's coming out of Goodwill. But 60% of the people who show up, we don't know who they are. But we do have a small sampling of their background, their credentials, their past work experiences. And we want to share that as well with our employers to say, hey, look, we have a vast majority of people who are going to walk in who may have some type of, they may be just as involved. They may need certain accommodations. English may be a second language. They may have some other things to consider in regards to barriers, not to be a burden to the employer, but to have them understand this is a demographic of people who are showing up at these events. And how do we have proper alignment? In addition to that, we want to make sure that people who are credentialed, who have the background and have the degree, also are matched up with the right people. So as we continue to refine what this expo is going to look like in the future, those are some of the things that we're taking into consideration. And we want to have a structured conversation with the employers in advance of the expo to give them very similar insights that we share with you today to better prepare them to serve residents and to provide opportunities that's more conducive for their background and credentialing. So let me go back 1 second. We're looking at the February range. We're looking to scale back to private sector only. Since this event, we've partnered with HR and Director DeAnthony Tillery. We shared information about some of the lessons learned from our job fair. And since Mecklenburg County has did their own job expo, and we've noticed that a lot of different departments have started their own hiring fairs. So we didn't think that it was necessary to bring back public into this platform, but we wanted to keep it private sector to make sure that we're bridging the gap between residents and our corporate partners. And then last but not least, some of the lessons learned that we've had in regards to people who registered to the event and the people who showed up. There were quite a few no-shows, and we realized that one of the interesting insights is that when our state partners will send out a blast about these events to their listserv of people who are unemployed, they would sign up but not show up. And one of the insights we're looking at further are people signing up to keep their unemployment benefits, and they're taking up spots on the registration from those who actually want to walk in. So that's one of the things why we've seen a lot of walk-ins, and because people probably didn't have the opportunity to register because people who were unemployed and kind of just using this as unemployment verification may have taken up some of the spots. So that's why we mentioned that our work with public information is going to be critical to make sure that we have a very community level grassroots approach to ensure that Mecklenburg County residents who want the opportunity and who are serious have the opportunity to receive information, to be brought in front of an employer and essentially apply and start their career. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to start and see if my colleagues have any questions. I saw people write down some notes. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I just have one question. Thank you for all that great information. The interviews that people were able to receive and then those who were hired, do you have anything broken down between those with college degrees and without college degrees about who was interviewed and who was hired?
I don't have the educational background, but we're still collecting some of that information from our employers. I will say one of the ways that a lot of residents have received employment were through some of our community partners who were staffing agencies specifically for construction and advanced manufacturing. And we noticed through a recent labor survey through the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance that because of labor shortages and trying to really tap into that workforce, staffing agencies have kind of risen in the rank as a conduit for employment in these sectors. So we're getting more information, but I can tell you just from qualitatively from the surveys that we receive, most of the people who applied to jobs, or especially the ones who received interview, did not have advanced degrees. They were GED, high school diploma, or associate's degree.
If I may expand on that, I think it's important to note that it was embedded in what Shah mentioned, and that is that one of the lessons learned is when we collect data on the spot, we get enough information to provide answers. Once people leave the expo, be it employers and or potential employees, and we try to survey, our response rates are such that it's not meaningful data. So one of the lessons learned is we'll collect that data the day of next time. As I just wanted to let you know, we tried to collect that information after the fact, but didn't have the ability to provide that.
That was it. Okay. All right. Commissioner Jarrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I think it's fair to say that the ship with respect to ED has officially turned. Officially. I think this is outstanding. When you look at the two data points that we see on the screen right now, that's impressive no matter what sector, right? Public, private. I mean, that's just a phenomenal outcome. So I want to start there. The second thing that I think was really outstanding that you can't quantify it and it won't get highlighted as much. But Shah, you mentioned how there was intentionality around the wraparound services. So we kept to our core, group of service delivery that we are expected to do as a county, and offer that opportunity that you can't quantify it, but I think that is so important because we could have had a real missed opportunity for people that really need help. So I thought that was outstanding as far as the decision that was made by the team to do that. Two other things, the list of companies and community partners, I think it is very important for this board to understand who is leaning in based on our priorities. Like, I think we should house that list somewhere, let it be accessible so that we can see it, we can understand who aligns with our values, who is leaning in to help the folks that we want to help and who is really advancing the priorities of this board. And I think that should be highlighted when they do that. I think we should have that somewhere. Thank you for participating somewhere on the website. Thank you to these community orgs, right? And at least the board members should know it as well, because as we're out and about, those are the people I want to keep top of mind. The final thing I will say, and I don't mean to end on a downer, but I will just say, I think we should rethink HR participating in future events. And the only reason being is we have a tremendous vacancy rate. And so with jobs, so why would we want to miss a potential opportunity to have, and again, there's probably reasons beyond what I know or understand, but I would like for us, HR, to think through having a table or some level of Mecklenburg County representation at a Mecklenburg County event to potentially capture some additional hires. But again, I don't know enough around the decision. I understand what we're saying, but I would like Mecklenburg County to be represented whenever possible and not miss opportunities, although they are having their own standalone events as well.
Yeah, so I definitely hear you. I'll give you one little contextual piece of
Sure.
information to go with that. But of course, we'll continue to marinate and try to come up with strategies to solve to this. The challenge that we had for a lot of, because again, it was around construction and like, a lot of the jobs that we have, the entry level qualifications wasn't the persons that were walking in. So when we're talking about, we've got to come up with this strategy to get the people that are walking in to be paired with the types of positions that are available, we ran into that problem as well. So while we have the program like the Veterans Apprenticeship Program, where we try to get them into educational opportunities, like it may be, how do we help them become informed of the pathways to get the minimal qualifications so they could apply for those jobs. But we'll definitely continue to see how we can make that happen, because it's the pairing that we've really got to tighten up.
Just one final comment that was stoked by those comments from Dr. Johnson. When we had the workshops, the pre-job fair workshops, it became abundantly clear that there is a percentage of the population that just don't fall into our existing programs. So they need help. And it's this was sort of all inclusive. So whether, maybe you didn't fall on the Rock or Goodwill or Second Chance, all of those, but there's still people in our community that need a job. And they also need training on how to present themselves, how to write a resume, how to go about showing up and answering questions in a way that's articulate and so forth. And so there's a need out there that is not necessarily by groups or any other sorts of way, but there's definitely a demand. And I think working with Eric Ortega and some of the other things Shaw did demonstrated that and add value that is kind of in an esoteric way that I just wanted to share with you.
The other thing I'll say to take a hitch on the Rogers commentary would be, I've said it's going to be a second-year pilot. I hope that we continue to be able to be a community to add value add for the return on investment and everything like that. But things that we've already started to contemplate is the space that Roger just noted. There's a lot of people that's out there because the pairing doesn't exist. How do we make them aware of all the programs that exist out there? How do we get them tooled up and ready so they can apply for these positions even at a different place than they're able to do today? And is that a space that no one's doing, or how do we get them resourced there and stuff like that? So we're going to find time and eventually brainstorm on that, but we haven't solved to that part of the problem. And I know Commissioner Rodriguez hasn't asked her questions per se yet, but one of the things I want to say is the team was phenomenal to make this all happen. I remember driving one place and I was telling Roger, it was before Roger got here. I said, Shaw, this is what we have to do. How do we make it happen? Okay, we'll make it happen. Okay. And we had only a few months based on timing the to access partners, come up with strategic, find a venue. Roger comes on board. And so there was a lot that had to happen in a rapid speed to pull it off, and to pull it off where the public would have thought that we had a whole year. So that was just phenomenal. It was it was a top of the line product service offering that we did. The second thing that I would say is this team wasn't staffed to do workforce development. There's not a person in here you heard their job is tied to workforce development. So people took on an additional job for us to try it on to see if this is a space for economic development. And then it became an all hands on deck. Everybody, if you look at photos and like, everybody came in and fulfilled a role to ensure the success of the event. So when they say teamwork, they really do demonstrate what it is to do teamwork, and they do it as an A class type of a team to achieve what they did. And part of the post event, we did have a celebratory event. It was around March Madness when it happened. And so we had a slam dunk party because we felt like they really had done what was necessary to elevate the game and get us positioned in our community to make differences. So.
Yes.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for providing that context. So, because everybody doesn't know everything, because
Right.
everybody wasn't here for everything. But basically, we had 2 workshops, and then to get people ready for the expo, and then we had the expo. And so, one thing I was trying to connect the dots on was the workshop people and the expo people. What did the people who came to the workshops, they were definitely part of those who pre-signed up for the expo, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so do we know if those are the people who got the job offers and the interviews?
Some of them did, but not all of them.
Okay.
We're still tracking. So some of the people who attended the actual workshops received jobs and
Before the expo? Or-
with other employers
Okay.
that they found that the information was useful from the actual workshop, and they applied to multiple jobs,
Uh-huh.
and they end up taking that information about resume review and interview tips and receive employment at other places. So we're still collecting that information as we speak. And to Roger's point, people call you when they need help, but once they get a job, they're not answering the phone.
Right.
So,
Totally.
so we're working on ways to capture data in a different type of way, and I think one of the ways will be shared at some point. There's talks about employment portals that you may hear coming out of different departments, specifically Unified Workforce, and some of the work that's Charlotte Works has been doing with the county. I don't want to speak to that at this moment, but we're taking a lot of the lessons learned, especially on data collection, and making sure that we refine our processes, not only with OED in this particular event, but how we intake people, and also information that's collected from our employers, hence our third workshop for the actual vendors, to make sure we have a good system to track people who are applying to jobs and get information where we can, where it's legally feasible to share that type of information. So
Okay.
we're working through that.
Okay. And does cash reward enter the idea at all as far as getting people to respond? Just saying.
No.
No? Okay.
your cash reward is your
That's
job.
fine, cash reward. You get, $50 or whatever, a gift card. Yeah, I'm just saying, Okay. So I think, if you read this as, just sort of cold turkey, and you say out of 546 people, only 26 known hires. And I know we're saying we're not totally able to track it all, or 61 job offers. And of the 61 job offers, only 26 hires. Like, you know what I mean? When you read it, you kind of go, well, that doesn't seem like a great success rate. So,
I think the main metrics to look at is the actual people interviewed, which is over a third of the people.
Mhm.
I can provide an opportunity for you to get into with an employer, but if you don't handle the interview process the right way, that's not a KPI that we should be responsible for.
Mm.
So we can provide the opportunity to get in front of an employer. We can give you the tips so that your resume makes it to the top of the pile. And then once you get that interview, it's on your coaching, your training, and your opportunity. If you don't show up on time, if you use the wrong words, if you don't convey your background and experiences in a way that the employer believes that you're the best candidate, those are some of the things that we kind of we're not responsible. We're not in the room. So we want to make sure that we get people in front of employers, not just any people, but residents.
Right.
So the number of residents in front of employers, especially those who are BIP, we want to make sure that people have an opportunity through our workshops. So that's a good metrics as well. And the actual people interviewed, 1/3 of the people who showed up received an interview. As I mentioned before, when you look at these type of events, it's 15 to 20 is a high industry standard. So we exceeded industry standard for a first time event. So we want to refine that process. It may look different in phase 2. You may not have as many people because we may have less employers, or we may fine tune this in a way where we hone in on a very particular demographic or skill set. But we want to take this wide net that we casted, look at the lessons learned and certain trends and how we can better serve our residents in a more efficient way. But I would say the amount of people who showed up in interviews were probably the best measure, because we can't determine who gets hired and how someone does in an interview.
Yeah, right. Okay. And I just want to also plug and say the wraparound service portion, that's just where we really need to be. And I'm just so glad, that that's part of the equation. So thank you for that. And what's PMP? What does that stand for?
Project management professional.
Oh, okay. So it's GED to PMP.
Yeah,
There's at least one engineer there.
Yeah.
One what?
Engineer.
Engineer.
Yeah,
Okay.
licensed
Fully
engineer.
credentialed,
Fully
licensed
credentialed.
engineer.
Oh, okay.
So
Wow.
we had a wide range of people, but
Okay.
just some rhyming acronyms that I thought was cool to say.
Okay. Trying to make us like, what is a PMP? I have not heard of that. Okay. All right. That's fantastic. Yeah, I think that I had one more thing I wanted to mention, and what was it? It was it in my shoot. Oh, didn't we get some kind of criticism that there wasn't enough jobs available to the people who came? Did I remember hearing that criticism?
I don't know about that criticism, but I will say we're taking all of the lessons learned
Okay.
in regards to making sure that people who attend the workshop have an opportunity, and we want to make sure the messaging is a little bit more fine-tuned as phase 2 of the pilot. The first one was kind of a wide net catch-all, hence the amount of people who were walk-ins.
Okay.
But we want to make sure that there's even stronger alignment between our corporate partners, the jobs that they offer, and then also the demographic of people with their skills, experience, and credentialing. So that's it may have been a criticism, I'm not sure, but we want to make sure that we take that into consideration as well.
Okay.
And a real world illustrative example maybe, which we heard, was that someone in the maintenance area was looking for HVAC certified workers. The people that showed up didn't necessarily have those skill sets. That's just one illustrative example. So we'll do a better job of matchmaking next year.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. This was a great presentation, and I really appreciate all of you guys and your hard work, and what you have done is truly, we're proud. We're proud. So, okay, with that, we have to, is that time to go into closed session? Okay, so I need a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, and so now we'll prepare for closed session by clearing the room. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Thank you. Welcome to.
Yeah, welcome to the team.
Appreciate you guys.
Okay. I know we're in a rush to get out of here. Roger, can you speak at all to the Good Jobs Principles thing?
I certainly can. Did you already go put it away, Megan?
No, I can pull it up to
Yeah.
do that. Yeah. Give me 1 second.
While Megan's pulling it up, I guess you've been involved in a federal programmatic discussion about different jobs throughout the U.S. and what the future jobs in the U.S. May be both needed and wanted. As a result of that program, the federal government has put forth some good jobs principles. Chair Rodriguez McDowell shared those with me and asked if we could actually talk about that. I had this prepared. I wasn't sure if you were going to talk about it or not. So I'll share with you this particular document that the chair shared with me. And you can see that there, many of the good job principles are very consistent with things that you've already asked us as it relates to do these employers provide these levels of benefits? Are they good corporate citizens and the like? And you can see it involves things such as the recruitment and hiring, diversity and inclusion, full-time benefits, if you want to go on down, empowerment and representation, job security and working conditions, organizational culture, pay, and opportunity for skills and advancement. And so that's one of the ideas behind the good jobs principles. And I think you wanted to talk about that in some way, shape, or form. So
Yeah, just really briefly, I wanted my colleagues to know for, just have it all out in the open, that what we're trying to do is work towards adopting maybe a resolution around these good jobs principles. The acting secretary of labor is coming either September 23rd or 24th in that zone. And we have a meeting on September 17th, which is 2 weeks from, I guess, yesterday. And in order to get that through onto our agenda, I wanted to see if we could get some support or just so I asked Roger to see how we already align with these good jobs principles and to point out the areas where we are already doing these things. And the one place that could be a sticking point is the empowerment and representation part, because it talks about union jobs. And so Marlena did reach out to me, and she said that, not all of the different boards have accepted all of the principles, but how many of them can we align with? And so if that's one we can't align with, then we just leave that one out. But we do, 7 out of 8 or whatever. So so we kind of need to get this onto the agenda for the 17th if everybody wants to do that.
Do we have to make a motion?
Do we have to make a motion for that?
No, you just have to go through the appropriate protocols to ensure that if you're adding it to an agenda, you have to go through the clerk's process for getting stuff on an agenda,
Right.
get the support, blah, blah, blah. So,
Yeah. I think it's like 11 days or whatever. We just had that come out with all those, but I didn't memorize the number. So, but I think we're within right now. But so are we still looking to see what we align with already?
well, I can share with you that I have just started to socialize this internally. Dr. Johnson, it also impacts Deputy County Manager Anthony Trotman's organization, and obviously the county manager's office as a whole.
Right.
That process has not been completely vetted to this point.
Okay.
I would be happy to communicate directly with you as soon as that process has been finished and seek your direction at that time.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. And so now everybody's just aware that this is something that I personally would love to work towards if we can.
Are we
So-
getting input from HR as well?
We will. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
All right, excellent. All right, so with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Anybody have to do edit and open?